Alrighty, guys, welcome back to Spiritual Bong Water. I want to apologize for the lag in between episodes. I've just had a lot going on and I was not motivated to record like I should be. But I'm back and we will be doing at least one podcast a week from here on out. I promise. So, what's up, guys and gals? Welcome to Spiritual Bong Water. This episode is going to be a tough one. It's, a lot of the things that I talk about are really rough and really traumatic, but this one, really took the cake. So, episode 7, When the Smoke Clears, Life After His Passing. So, my oldest 2 children, one is 16, one is 13, we lost their dad when they were little. That never stops stinging when I say it. The things that he misses, the way that he never got to see my son start kindergarten or our daughter's sweet 16, how he won't be at their weddings or graduations or college. All of that shit weighs really fucking heavy on you when you are the parent that's left. Parenting is not for the weak to begin with, but when you add losing your co-parent, it's just a whole new level of fucked up, honestly. I will never forget that day. I will never forget the events as they unfolded and everything that happened and the sense of just pure disbelief and rage from the fact that no justice was given. So this happened April 7th, 2016. This is 4 days before I gave birth to my youngest child. We had been separated for a while, me and the kid's dad, and I had already had my middle son and was pregnant with my baby son. So, we had been separated a while. We were doing the co-parenting thing. It was fantastic. Honestly, he was way better as a co-parent as he ever was as a partner. You know what I mean? He was more supportive as my co-parent than he ever was when we were in a relationship. And, he was a amazing dad. And it sucks knowing that something was taken from your children. And there's absolutely nothing that you can say or do to make that not hurt. So on this day, I was literally hella pregnant. I was having a hard time with our son, who literally he was a wild child. He was a handful as a little one. And he's fantastic now. He is, a very well-behaved, very calm, very cool kid. But as a little kid, he was the exact opposite. And, I was having a hard time that day. And it was his weekend for the kids because we, without court, decided, he was going to do every other weekend, from Thursday until Sunday night, which is cool, whatever. We worked it out. So I called him and I was like, hey, do you think you could pick the kids up a day early? I'm just so tired. I'm so exhausted. I have 3 small children and I'm the size of a blimp. Please help me. And he was going to, but it caused a fight with the girl that he was dating. And this girl was a little bit crazy. He straight told me she was on medication and she'd been in and out of psych wards. And he showed me stab marks in his hallway where she went after him with a knife one day. And it literally stab marks in the wall, in the door. Wow, right? And you think that would be enough for him to get away from her, but it was not. So, I called him and he said, yeah. And then he called me back a couple minutes later and he started yelling at me and told me that she split his eye with the door, like smacked him in the face with the door, and that he might not be able to pick them up from school, like he said, because he was going to have to go to the emergency room to get stitches. And that was the last time I heard from him. And I sit there and I wonder if I would have gone over there like I wanted to and lit that bitch up for fucking hitting him, maybe he would still be here. Or maybe we'd both be gone. Who knows? So, 30 minutes later, running errands, I'm giving a friend a ride to pick up her medication. And my younger two's dad calls me and tells me, hey, someone just called me and said that, Matt's dead. What the fuck? And I'm like, bullshit. I just talked to him 30 minutes ago. There's no way. So I looked on there's a scanner page where I live, and I looked on the scanner page and there was a call for his age, his description, his street. And so, I raced over there immediately and I found his mom sitting in the front yard. With the sheriffs. And the girl was sitting on the wall with her ex-boyfriend that she used to cheat on him with all the time. Now, this is where it gets dicey. There was a gunshot. She didn't call 911. The neighbor did. The first person she called was her ex, who then proceeded to call one of my homeboys, who then proceeded to call another person who called my younger two's dad to tell them this is what's going on. So everybody's playing telephone. But nobody knows what really actually happened. Nobody was in there except for them. And she maintained that he took his own life, which I absolutely do not believe. And there's nothing anyone could say to make me believe it. I know that man, knew him very well. And the one thing on this earth that mattered more to him than anything was our children. And he had literally just gotten everything he wanted. A brand new house that he was going to move into, all this stuff, that he had set up. And his business was doing very well. I honestly, I cannot believe at all that he would kill himself. I don't. And the sheriffs just didn't give a fuck. Because they went in his house and they saw the weed and the wax and the equipment to make it, and he was no longer a person to them. I literally called the sheriff to try and voice my concern about her of maybe have being the one who harmed him. And I will never forget, the sheriff told me, oh, well, it's sad for his kids, even though what he was, but sorry, investigation closed. They never swabbed her hand for gunshot residue. They never asked the neighbor, more questions. The neighbor who called the sheriff when they heard the gunshot, not the person who was in the house with him. And it's just, the worst thing in the world is having to tell your children that they won't get to see their dad again. And second to that, knowing that I'll never get to talk to him again. Regardless of how a relationship ends, when you have children with a person, you never expect to not talk to them again. I should have never been older than him. And like I said, I think the worst part is not getting justice. Not having anyone who values this person the way that you did in a way that would cause them to believe that the truth is not being told. And this girl literally made the biggest scene, told different stories to every person who asked her what happened. My favorite one is that he choked her and she played dead and he panicked and shot himself in the face under his eye. First off, statistically, no one who commits suicide, like no one, just shoots themselves straight in the fucking face. Like, first off, statistically. Second off, I'm sorry, but like I knew this man pretty well. If he thought somebody was dead, he'd be calling someone for help, not choosing to end his own life over it. Plus, he's not stupid. He knows how to check a pulse and breathing. So, like, I really just can't believe that's what happened. You know? So, fast forward to his funeral, I spoke. It was extremely hard. And I was extremely not prepared to have my 3 and 6-year-old looking at me, asking me all of these questions about their dad, and there's not one answer I can give them that is going to satisfy them. Like, it is terrible for anyone to lose a parent, but to be that small, like, I'm almost 37 and I still have my dad and my stepmom and my stepdad. Like, my mom just recently passed away and I still struggle with that as an adult. So as a child, I can only imagine how overwhelming those feelings can be. I spoke at the funeral, and this girl tried to come like hug me and my kids. And I was not the only one who was suspicious of what happened. A lot of his friends did not believe that that's what happened. And she got out of there pretty quick because she could tell that everybody was not buying her bullshit. So I literally, she went online and did this whole cry thing about how that was the love of her life, that was her soulmate, this, that, and the other. And then not even 2 months after he passed away, she was dating some dude that looked just like him, which gave me the fucking ick harder than I can ever explain to you. There was no one who understood what I was going through because none of my friends had been through anything like that. My partner at the time, my younger two's dad, literally called me weak. Would talk shit to me all the time. I was super depressed. And not only was I super depressed, but 4 days later into being super depressed, I had to go have a C-section to give birth to our child, to which nobody wanted to help me afterwards. And I had a 18-month-old as well. And it just, I don't think I've ever felt so alone in my entire life. Because all I wanted to do was make my kids feel better, and I couldn't. I couldn't give them the one thing that they wanted. The last thing they got to do is spend Easter with their dad. That is the last thing my 3-year-old son ever got to do with his father. And, I cried and I prayed and I begged. That I needed to know what happened. And one night I had a dream, and I'm not gonna like vividly describe my whole dream, but in my dream it was her, not him. And I want to believe in my heart that he knew that I would not find peace without knowing. And I feel like he sent me that dream because he knew that I needed to know that he didn't leave them. And since then, grief comes in waves. Some days, you're totally fine. Other days, you feel like you're drowning and you can't breathe. One of my favorite things that I read that kind of helped me find a little bit of comfort. Grief is the price you pay for loving someone, because that love doesn't go away. So, certain shit is still really hard. Our son's gonna graduate 8th grade this year, and he didn't ever get to see him start kindergarten. My 16-year-old daughter is a fucking terrorist. And I know she wouldn't be this way if I had him here helping me. It's just so hard to think about everything that he's missed and will miss, and like I know he watches over them. But they should have got to live their life with their dad around them, not just watching over them. Now, they do still get to see his mom. My son actually just went out to Arizona to visit with her for like 2 weeks this summer. She still keeps in touch with me. And that was her only son, so I understand why it's hard for her to question anything that happened. Why it was easier for her to just accept what they said. But I honestly, cannot bring myself to think that he would ever leave my children. And that is something that will bother me every day for the rest of my life. Because what if I would have gone over there? Would he still be here? What if I hadn't called him and asked him to take the kids? Would they have gotten into a fight? What if, the cops actually gave a fuck? There's so many what ifs. And it's just bam, bam, bam. I lost him, my grandma, and my best friend all within the span of a year. And I had no one to help me navigate that. And it was definitely hard to not cry every fucking day. To not be angry and wonder why fucking my kids. It's hard to look at my daughter in the way she behaves now and think that it would still be the same if her dad was still here. So it's just, guys, it's one of those times where definitely had to clean out that bong water. Definitely had to find my own path on how to navigate raising children who have lost somebody in their life that was so significant. Like, that man was everything. He was the center of their universe. And yeah, I'm their mom and they love me, but it was just, that was daddy. And daddy did this and he took them this place. And, he was always there when they needed him. And then he was just gone. And I am angry every single day that someone could take him from my children and have absolutely no consequences. Because there was weed and wax in his house that he was producing. So to the sheriffs, he was just another drug dealer. He literally owned part of a legal medicinal cannabis company that sold to legal dispensaries and went to legal events. So it's just wild to me that weed is the reason these cops found it justifiable to not search for justice. I want to thank you guys for tuning in, and I also want to apologize for the tears in this podcast. It really is still hard to talk about and still hard to think about. And honestly, I don't think I will ever stop feeling like we got robbed of something that is so normal that people take for granted every fucking day. You get irritated with your co-parent. You wish you didn't have to deal with them, but I'm telling you right now, not dealing with them is so much worse. All right, guys. I need to go take a couple minutes to cry. So, thank you for tuning in. We're always over here spilling the bong water for you guys. And, until next week, everybody stay safe, stay elevated, and have a beautiful day.